there, fantasy owners. LTC Fantasy here. Not sure if you're chiming in watching via YouTube or listening via podcast, but really do appreciate the watch or listen no matter how you're streaming the episode there. Before we get started, some exciting news. We've partnered up with 247clash.com. So what it is, it's for you daily fantasy players, and as long as you're a Canadian resident, need to be a Canadian resident right now. What you need to do is go to 247clash.com. I'll put a link in the description, and what it is, it's a daily fantasy gambling site for daily fantasy sports. Obviously, if you sign up and use the referral code LTC and make a deposit, what happens is it's a pools based game with a point spread added effect to it. How it basically works is, right now on daily fantasy, 1.6% of gamblers are considered professionals. It's what they do for a living. And with the point spread factor, it takes the professional advantage away, because right now the professionals are winning over 90% of the payouts out there. I think it's 91.4% of the payouts. And what this does is kind of levels it out for our average day gamblers like you or myself here. What you do when you do go to the website and you use the referral code LTC and you make an initial deposit, what 247 will do, for every $20 you deposit, they'll give you another credit for a card. And how the game works is it's a pools-based game, so they'll have a card with a list of about dozen matches. Cards vary depending on the day, etc. And it's head-to-head matches. So, for example, Dylan Larkin will be playing Tage Thompson. Tage Thompson will be favored by 2 fantasy points. So if you think Thompson will get 2 or more fantasy points, you select him and you go through the card, fill it out. Starts out at a $5 wager. Everybody's that's in that card, their money gets pooled together and the winner gets a pot. So for example, last night I got 8 out of 12 right. I ended up splitting with 2 other people, so 3 of us shared the pool. Worked out pretty good, a little bit of money in the bank, and only cost me $5 to make about $70 roughly. So again, the website is 247clash.com. Link will be in the description, and the referral code is LTC. Really do hope it works out for you listeners there. It's worked out for me so far. Been playing about 6 weeks, and I've won a share of 3 pools so far, so I'm definitely ahead of the game, and hopefully it works out for you too. Anyways, back to the episode. Today's going to be our week 13 strategy episode. So what we're going to look at next week's schedule, break it down, see who has the advantage, etc. Suggest some players to hopefully help strengthen your fantasy roster and give you an advantage for next week. Some things to note: there's 3 teams that only have 2 games next week, them being Buffalo, Ottawa, and San Jose. It's 4 game weeks for a number of teams, them being Anaheim, Arizona, Boston, Columbus, St. Louis, Toronto, and Washington. Light nights this week are your typical light nights. Monday, 3 games. Wednesday, 3 games. Friday, 6 games. Sunday's a little heavier, but still lighter, only having 8 games there. So we will focus on the Monday and Wednesday light nights, as Friday and Sunday will be covered later in the week in our Weekend Ads episode. We will cover Anaheim first, though, because they're the only team next week that have all 4 light nights, so definitely an advantage scooping up a couple Anaheim players if you can. Then we will cover the remaining Monday teams, then the remaining Wednesday teams, and then we'll cover any 4-game teams that don't play Monday or Wednesday. So basically, we'll get right into it. We'll start off with some Anaheim defensemen and forwards. And remember, they do play all 4 light nights. They play Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday there. We'll start off, look at Cam Fowler on the back end. He's owned in 14% of Yahoo leagues. Plays a top pairing, top power play unit there. He has 2 points the last 5 games with 8 blocks. He can be streaky, but he plays a ton of minutes. And with minutes, with all the light nights there, should be a fairly solid option for you, and hopefully he works out for you. Another one on the back end to look at is John Klingberg. He's owned in 44% of Yahoo leagues. Plays second pairing, second power play unit there. He has 3 points the last 6 games with 7 blocks in there. It is an off year for him, but being the light nights, depending what's available, he might still be an okay option for you, and you might get a little bit of value out of him. Up front, look at Adam Henrique, listed as center left winger, owned in 6% of Yahoo leagues. Plays on the top line, top power play unit there. And he's put up 5 points his last 6 games, plus 4, 10 shots on goal, and 7 blocks. He is up and down, but with 4 light nights, he's on a little bit of a roll of late. Might be a decent option for you. Another one up front to look at is Mason McTavish, listed as center left winger, owned in 16% of Yahoo leagues. Playing on the third line, top power play unit there. And he's potted 6 points the last 6 games, so point per game, 17 shots on goal and 4 blocks. He's been pretty good the last couple of weeks, and outside of Zegras and Terry, he is your best offensive option in Anaheim, so might work out for you there. Another one to look at is Frank Vetrano, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 7% of Yahoo leagues. Playing on the second line, second power play unit, and he has 5 points the last 6 games with 15 shots on goal, 6 hits, and 5 blocks. It took a while for him to get going, but he seems to have found his rhythm the last couple of weeks. Hopefully it keeps going, works out for you on these light nights, because he might be a solid option for you. And the last one's Ryan Strome, listed as a center, owned in 8% of Yahoo leagues, centering that second line, second power play unit there, and he has 4 points the last 6 games with 11 shots on goal. He is a little bit more hot and cold, so with that he is a little bit more risky, but with the light nights and in a deeper league, might be an okay option, might work out for you. So now we'll move on to some defensemen that play on Monday. Anaheim's already been covered, obviously. Out of these players, Boston has a 4-game week, and the rest of the players outside of Boston have a 3-game week. We'll start off in Boston. Look at Matt Grzelcyk, owned in 2% of Yahoo leagues, plays on the top pairing there, and he has 2 points the last 7 games, so not the greatest offense, but it has been a +3 and 15 blocks in those 7 games. So the value is in blocks. He helps you out in the plus-minus as those are counted in your leagues. And was playing on a light night, 4-game week, certain formats, he might be valuable for you. Going over to Colorado, look at Samuel Girard, owned in 10% of Yahoo leagues, playing on the second pairing, second power play unit there, and he has 2 points the last 3 games with 8 shots on goal, 4 hits, and 2 blocks in those 3 games. His offense is very hit and miss, but he does get an okay amount of hits and blocks, so in certain formats, might be an okay option for you. Going over to Philly, look at Travis Sanheim, owned in 6% of Yahoo leagues, playing second pairing there. He has 3 points the last 6 games with 12 shots on goal, 6 hits, and 6 blocks. You get a little bit in every category, not a lot in every category, so in a deeper Cats league, should be an okay option for you. Next one is Cam York in Philly, owned in 1% of Yahoo leagues, playing third pairing on that second power play unit there. He's put up 5 points the last 7 games with 7 hits and 9 blocks. He is a little bit streaky, so again, a little bit risky, but he is on a bit of a roll right now. So in your deeper leagues, might be able to squeeze some value out of him. Next one over in Pittsburgh's Pierre-Olivier Joseph, owned in 1% of Yahoo leagues, playing third pairing, second power play unit. He has 2 points the last 4 games. Games going on tonight. I believe he got one of the goals so far. One of those points have been on the power play, 8 shots on goal and 7 blocks. So has pretty decent cat numbers for a deeper Cats league. So if you're in a deeper Cats league, might be a solid streaming option. The next one's over in Vegas. Look at Daniel Miromanov, owned in 2% of Yahoo leagues, playing second pairing, second power play unit there. He's put up 5 points the last 8 games with 14 shots on goal and 7 blocks in those 8 games. So he is quite hit or miss, but with Theodore still out, he's getting some power play time there. So in your deeper leagues, might be a viable option for you and get you some value there. Before we move on to the next segment, do want to ask you, do subscribe as we're trying to grow this channel. Really appreciate the support. Hope you're finding some value in those episodes. And there's my own little personal plug for you there. Again, moving along to some forwards that play on Monday. Again, Anaheim's already been covered earlier in the episode. Out of these players, Boston has a 4-game week, and the rest of these players have got a 3-game week there. So we'll start off in Boston again, get the 4 gamers out of the way there. Look at Pavel Zacha, listed as center, left wing, and right wing, owned in 4% of Yahoo leagues, playing second line, second power play unit there. And he has points in 3 straight games there. And in those 3 games, he's been a +4 and had 3 blocks. He's on a small roll of late and should be an okay, especially in deeper leagues next week, having the 4 games there. Next one's David Krejci, listed as a center, owned in 27% of Yahoo leagues, centering that second line, second power play unit there. And he's put up 5 points the last 6 games, 12 shots on goal, and 6 blocks in those 6 games. So he's been fairly good this year. His stats probably say he should be owned a little bit higher than 27%. So he should be a fairly solid option for you to get some value next week. Next one in Boston's Charlie Coyle, listed as a center, owned in 5% of Yahoo leagues, centering that third line, and he has 9 points the last 11 games. Really good production for a third liner there. In those 11 games, he's a +5, 19 shots on goal, and thrown 8 hits there. So he's been pretty consistent the last few weeks here, and especially in deeper leagues, be more than likely one of your better options as a streamer. Going over to Colorado, look at Arturi Lehkonen, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 63% of Yahoo leagues, playing top line, top power play unit there, and he has 5 points the last 8 games with 20 shots on goal, 12 hits, and 5 blocks. He has been a little bit hot and cold of late, but do remember, he's playing on that top line with Rantanen, on that top power play in Colorado, especially on a light night. Should be one of your better options on the wing there. Next one in Colorado is JT Compher, listed as center right winger, owned in 20% of Yahoo leagues, up on the top line, top power play unit there. And currently he's put up 4 points in the midst of a 3-game point streak there. 2 of those 4 points have been on the power play. Also had 11 shots on goal and 4 blocks in those 3 games. So he's been really good the last week. He's been bumped up to that top line, so that definitely increases his value there and should be a okay streamer, especially in deeper leagues. Another one in Colorado to look at is Evan Rodriguez, listed as center, left wing, and right wing, owned in 10% of Yahoo leagues, plays on the second line, top power play unit there. And he too has 4 points in the midst of a 3-game point streak. 2 of those also being on the power play, and 10 shots on goal in those 3 games. He's also been good of late on that top PP unit. First option might be Comfort just because he's also on the top line with Rantanen there. But as a fallback option in deeper leagues, Rodriguez wouldn't be that far behind him there. Going over to Philadelphia, look at Morgan Frost, listed as center left winger, owned in 4% of Yahoo leagues, playing top line, top power play unit there. And he's put up 8 points the last 8 games, so point per game, 15 shots on goal, 13 hits, and 4 blocks in those 8 games. So he's up in the top 6, chipping in a little bit, and most cats there. So with that, especially in deeper leagues, only 4% owned, more than likely he's available. Should bring you some value there. Next one in Philly's James Van Riemsdyk, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 8% of Yahoo leagues, playing top line, top power play unit there, and he's put up 9 points the last 8 games. The old vet getting her done. 25 shots on goal. As I just mentioned, he's turning back the clock a little bit there. He's up on the top 6. He's been bottom 6 for most of the year. And with that increased ice time, he's really starting to produce 9 points over 8 games, so better than a point per game. As long as he stays up there, should be a fairly decent option for you. Next one in Philly's Joel Farabee, listed as center left winger, owned in 3% of Yahoo leagues, playing second line, second power play unit there. And he's put up 3 points the last 4 games, and in those 4 games, a +5. He is really streaky, so with that, he is pretty risky. So leave him for your deeper leagues, as there might be better, more consistent options for you. But if you're in a deep league, you're in a bit of a pinch, he might work out for you there. Another one in Phillies, Travis Konechny, listed as a right winger, owned in 63% of Yahoo leagues, playing second line, but up on the top power play. And he has 4 straight 2-point games right now, so really piling up the points. In those 4 games, he has 12 shots on goal and 4 hits. He's been really good most of the year. If he is available in your league, I'd definitely snag him up because you're definitely going to get some value out of him. Over in Pittsburgh, look at Brian Rust, listed as a right winger, owned in 62% of Yahoo leagues, playing second line, second power play unit there. And he's put up 13 points the last 11 games. And in those 11 games, he has 4 points on the power play, 25 shots on goal, and 11 blocks. He's been really good the last month and a bit here. He's had a really horrible start. That's why his ownership's under 65%. So if he is available, should definitely get some value out of him. Next one in Pittsburgh's Jason Zucker, listed as a left winger, owned in 23% of Yahoo leagues, playing second line, second power play unit there. And he's put up 5 points the last 5 games, 3 of those points being on the power play. And in those 5 games, he has 12 shots on goal and 17 hits. He can be a little bit streaky, but definitely still throws the body around, gets you some shots on goal. So certain formats for sure, possibly a deep scoring league, should be a decent option for you. Going over to Vegas, look at Michael Amadio, listed as center right winger, owned in 9% of Yahoo leagues. Up on the top line, second power play unit there. And he's currently at 7 points in the middle of a 5-game point streak there with 16 shots on goal. He's been really hot of late, and on that top line in Vegas, so definitely getting some good opportunities there. So he should be a fairly good option, especially on a light Wednesday there. Or light Monday, sorry. Next one in Vegas is Riley Smith, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 64% of Yahoo leagues, playing second line up on the top power play unit there. He's put up 9 points the last 8 games, so over a point per game, and 29 shots on goal in those 8 games. So he's been pretty solid offensively. Obviously gets you some shots on goal there. On a light night, you should definitely get some value out of Riley Smith. Last one in Vegas is William Karlsson, listed as center left winger, owned in 35% of Yahoo leagues, playing second line, second power play unit there. He's put up 7 points the last 8 games and has 4 blocks in those 8 games. He's not bad, not great, so he's not really going to win it for you, but he's not going to lose it for you either. You'll just get some consistent value out of him, so he might be an okay option depending how your league is formatted there. Now we'll move along to some defensemen that play on the Wednesday light night. Remember again, Anaheim's already been covered, so all of these players in this segment have 3-game weeks there. We'll start off in Dallas. Look at Niels Lundqvist, owned in 2% of Yahoo leagues, playing up on the top pairing, and he has 6 points over the last 11 games, so a bit over a half point per game. And in those 11 games, he's also thrown 11 hits and 18 blocks. His offense is a little bit streaky, but he does get you nice block numbers. He's okay hit numbers there. He is on the top pairing there, so gets a decent amount of ice time and opportunity there. So in a deeper league, might be an okay option for you. Another one to consider in Dallas is Ryan Suter. He's also owned in 2% of Yahoo leagues. Plays second pairing, second power play unit there. And he has 5 points the last 8 games. 2 of those 5 points being on the power play and 11 blocks in there. He's been okay of late, and for deep leagues, he'll be an okay option for you. It needs to be a deep league though. Going over to Detroit, look at Oli Mata, owned in 1% of Yahoo leagues, so basically available everywhere. He's on the third pairing in Detroit there, and he has 5 points the last 7 games. And in those 7 games, he also thrown 10 hits and had 10 blocks in there. He gets you a decent amount of hits and blocks. His offense is really streaky. At the start of the year, started out pretty hot there. Then he got really just ice cold, and now he's heating back up again. So in a real deep league, you might be able to get some value out of him. Over in Jersey, look at Brendan Smith, owned in 1% of Yahoo leagues, playing on the second pairing. He has 2 points the last 4 games. Game's still going on. I believe he also got a point tonight, so put that in 3+ in the last 5 games. And in those 4 games anyways, he's had 6 shots on goal, 12 hits, and 12 blocks. So he gets you a pretty good amount of hits and blocks. He's chipping in a little bit of offense of late. So in a deeper Cats league, should be a decent option for you. Going over to Minnesota, look at Jared Spurgeon. Owned in 60% of Yahoo leagues. Plays on the second pairing, second power play unit there. He's put up 5 points the last 7 games. And in those 7 games, he's been +5, couple power play points there, 11 shots on goal, 9 hits, 19 blocks. As you can tell, he chips in pretty much in every category. So if you're in a Cats league and he is available, should be pretty valuable streamer for you next week. Next one is Eric Chernak over in Tampa there. Owned in 18% of Yahoo leagues. Playing on the third pairing. He's put up 6 points the last 12 games, so half point per game. +9 in those 12 games. 42 hits and 17 blocks. He did leave last game in the middle of the game, so do check on his status before you decide to pick him up. But as you can tell, he'll definitely help you in hits and blocks. That's where his value is. Plus/minus is pretty solid, especially of late. Gets you a little bit of offense. Just an added bonus in there for you. And now we'll move along to some forwards that play on Wednesday. Remember, again, Anaheim was covered earlier in the episode. So all of these players in this segment have a 3-game week. Start off in Dallas. Look at Wyatt Johnston, listed as a center, owned in 2% of Yahoo leagues. Centering that third line, second power play unit there. And he's put up 5 points the last 5 games. 4 of those 5 points have been goals, so really been putting the puck in the net. 2 power play points, 13 shots on goal. He has been a pretty solid rookie. He can be a little bit streaky, but that's expected with younger players. So in your deeper leagues, definitely has some offensive upside for you. Next one in Dallas is Mason Marchment, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 32% of Yahoo leagues. Playing on that third line, second power play unit there. And he's put up 6 points his last 10 games, so not bad, not great offense. But in those 10 games, he's also had 31 shots on goal, 18 hits, and 5 blocks. So even if he does toss you a bagel, you'll still get some value out of him in hits and blocks. So in a Cats league, might be an okay option for you. Going over to Detroit, look at Michael Rasmussen, listed as center left winger, owned in 6% of Yahoo leagues. Playing on the top line, second power play unit there. And he has 6 points the last 4 games, so pretty good there. 13 shots on goal, 5 hits, and 5 blocks in those 4 games there. So he's up on the top line, doing pretty well of late. So with that, and it being a light night, might turn out to be an okay option for you. Next one's David Perron in Detroit, listed as a right winger, owned in 63% of Yahoo leagues. Plays on the top line, top power play unit there. And he's put up 6 points the last 5 games, so over a point per game there. 2 of those 6 points being on the power play. 17 shots on goal in 5 games, so that's pretty nice number of shots there and 4 hits. He's had a pretty solid season, so if he is available in your league, pretty solid option for you, especially on a light Wednesday there. Going over to Jersey, look at Thomas Tatar, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 11% of Yahoo leagues. Plays on the top line, top power play unit there. And he has 4 points in the midst of a 3-game point streak there with 7 shots on goal. He is pretty much either hot or cold. He's hot right now. Hopefully it lasts into Wednesday for you if you are in a pinch in a deeper league. Could turn out to be a solid option. Another one to look at in Jersey is Yegor Sharangovic. Listed as center left winger, owned in 7% of Yahoo leagues there. Playing on the third line. He's put up 2 points the last 3 games. And in those 3 games, no, it's a small sample size there, but he's also been +3 and 7 shots on goal. He is kind of hit or miss and only plays third line minutes there, so there is some risk involved. He'd be an okay option in a real deep league for you, though. Going over to Minnesota, look at Sam Steele, listed as center left winger, owned in 10% of Yahoo leagues. Playing on the top line, second power play unit. He's put up 7 points his last 7 games. And in those 7 games, he's been a +9 and also chipped in a couple power play points. He's on the top line with Zuccarello and Kaprizov there. So he is a little bit streaky, but just with having good line mates on a light night, could turn out decent for you. Another one to look at in Minnesota is Joel Eriksson Ek. Listed as a center, owned in 65% of Yahoo leagues. Centering that second line, top power play unit there. And he's put up 4 points the last 7 games. So, okay, not great offense. But 2 of those 4 points have been on the power play. 18 shots on goal and 6 blocks. He has cooled off some compared to the Terry who was on there a few weeks back. But he still has talent. Chips in some other categories there, so depending on your format, might be an okay option. Next one is Frederick Gaudreau, listed as center, left wing, and right wing, owned in 6% of Yahoo leagues, playing on the third line, second power play unit there for the Wild, and he has 7 points his last 8 games, and in those 8 games he's been a +5, also has 15 shots on goal. So he's been decent the last few weeks, so in your deeper leagues, could definitely bring you some value, especially on a light night there. Going over to Tampa Bay, look at Brandon Hagel, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 52% of Yahoo leagues, playing on the top line there, top power play unit, and he has 1 point the last 4 games, so not the greatest, but before that he put up 9 points in a 5-game stretch there. So he is a little bit streaky, but he is on the top line there with Kucherov and Point, top power play unit. Tampa's pretty strong, light night. Things add up where he should be a pretty good option for you. Last one in Tampa, there's Alex Killorn, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 25% of Yahoo leagues, playing on the third line, second power play unit there, and he has 7 points the last 12 games. And in those 12 games, he's also had 19 shots on goal, 11 hits, and 6 blocks. He's a little bit off and on, but in a Cats league on a light night, should be an okay option for you. So now we'll move along to some D-men that have 4 games next week but don't play on Monday or Wednesday. Start off in Arizona. Look at Juuso Valimaki. 0% owned there on the Coyotes. Plays on the second pairing, second power play unit there. And he's put up 3 points the last 4 games with 4 hits and 4 blocks. He is pretty much hit or miss. It's kind of all or nothing with him. He's on a little bit of a roll right now. But leave him for a real deep league only. But he is on a little bit of a roll, so might be an okay option. Another one to look at in Arizona is Shane Gostisbehere, owned in 62% of Yahoo leagues, playing top pairing, top power play unit there, and he has 11 points the last 12 games, so basically point per game, plus 8 in there, which is really impressive being in Arizona. 4 of those points have been on the power play, 26 shots on goal, 14 blocks. He's been really good, and just if he's available, grab him. You'll be happy with him, especially with having a 4-game week. Going over to Columbus, look at Adam Boquist. He's owned in 8% of Yahoo leagues, playing third pairing up on the top power play unit. He's only been back for 2 games since coming back from injuries, bagels in both games, so not any points, but he is on the top power play unit, getting back into game shape, just manning the top power play in a deep league. I wouldn't do it in a standard league. There's probably some safer options, but a little bit risky, but might get rewarded also. Another one in Columbus, Marcus Bjork, owned in 1% of Yahoo leagues, playing on the top pairing second power play unit, and he's put up 4 points the last 5 games, 2 of those 4 points being on the power play. Also has 9 shots on goal, 9 hits, and 11 blocks in those 5 games. He's quietly been fairly solid, so in a deeper Cats league especially, you might be able to get some value out of him with having a 4-game week there. Over in St. Louis, look at Colton Parayko, owned in 13% of Yahoo leagues, playing top pairing, up on the top power play unit right now, and he has 3 points the last 5 games, so a little over half point per game, and in those 5 games he's had 14 shots on goal, 8 hits, and 11 blocks. With him, you're going to obviously get some hits and blocks, and he is filling in on the top PP with Krug out. He got put on LTIR there, and just with that adds a little bit of value. 4 games this week might work out for you. Over in Toronto, look at Mark Giordano, owned in 20% of Yahoo leagues, playing on the top pairing for the Leafs right now, second power play unit, and he has points in 4 straight, and in those 4 games, he's also had 7 blocks. He's been pretty good of late, and with 4 games, might be able to get some value out of the old veteran. Another one in Toronto to look at is Conor Timmins, owned in 2% of Yahoo leagues, playing second pairing, second power play unit there. He's put up 8 points the last 9 games, 2 of those been on the power play. He's been producing since he's been called up there, and with that, you might be able to ride the hot hand and get a little bit of value out of him. Over in Washington, look at Dmitry Orlov, owned in 41% of Yahoo leagues, playing second pairing, second power play unit there, and he has 5 points the last 9 games, and in those 9 games, he's also +6, 19 shots on goal, 20 hits, 20 blocks. So since coming back from injury, the offense cooled off a little bit compared to how he started right out of injury there, but with the other Cats, the way he contributes there, should be a solid option for you. Next one in Washington's Eric Gustafsson, owned in 42% of Yahoo leagues, playing top pairing, top power play unit there. He currently has 10 points in a 6-game point streak. +8, 19 shots on goal, 7 blocks. He's pretty much about as hot as it gets. Carlson's still out. If he's available, definitely snag him up because you'll definitely like it, especially if he keeps this up here. So now we'll finish it off with some forwards that have 4 games this week that don't play Monday or Wednesday. We'll go back to Arizona. Look at Nick Schmaltz, listed as center right winger, owned in 21% of Yahoo leagues there. Playing top line, top power play unit, and he has 12 points the last 10 games played. And in those 10 games, he's a +4, 3 of those points being on the power play, 18 shots on goal, and 6 blocks. He's been really good with Keller. They had really good chemistry, especially last season in the second half. Should be a pretty good option, especially with having 4 games this week. Next one is Lawson Krause in Arizona, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 13% of Yahoo leagues, playing second line, second power play unit there. And he has 9 points the last 10 games with 22 shots on goal, 22 hits, and 10 blocks. His offense is streaky, but he gets you a good amount of hits, decent amount of blocks. Certain formats could turn out to be valuable for you. Going over to Columbus, look at Jack Roslovich, listed as a center, owned in 5% of Yahoo leagues, playing top line, top power play unit there, and he has 10 points the last 10 games played. And with that, he's had 19 shots on goal and 5 blocks in those 10 games. He is a little bit streaky, but with 4 games, you should definitely get some value out of him. Another one in Columbus is Kirill Marchenko, listed as a right winger, owned in 1% of Yahoo leagues, playing second line, second power play unit there, and he has 2 points the last 3 games with 5 shots on goal. He's on a little bit of a roll right now, that's why I mentioned him. So in a real deep league, might be a okay option that works out for you. Another one in Columbus is Kent Johnson, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 7% of Yahoo leagues, playing second line, second power play unit there, and he has 2 points the last 4 games there. He is hot and cold, so he is a bit risky, but the young kid does have some talent. So in your deeper leagues, if there's a lack of options, he could work out for you there. Another one in Columbus is Gustav Nyquist, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 2% of Yahoo leagues, playing second line up on the top power play unit there. And he's put up 3 points the last 4 games with 12 shots on goal. He is on a small roll. He's up on the top power play unit. Does shoot a fair bit, that's for darn sure. So in a deep league, he may be worth the risk there. Going over to St. Louis, look at Brayden Schenn, listed as center left winger, owned in 58% of Yahoo leagues, playing top line, top power play unit there, and he has 10 points the last 12 games with 30 shots on goal and 19 hits. He's been pretty consistent. Schen's been fairly consistent for the last number of years and should be a pretty good streaming option for you, especially with having a 4-game week. Another one in St. Louis is Robert Thomas, listed as a center, owned in 56% of Yahoo leagues, playing second line, second power play unit there, and he has 11 points the last 12 games. He basically is a point per game player and under 65% owned. Especially scoring leagues, you're going to get some value out of him, so grab him and you should be happy there. Over in Toronto, look at Michael Bunting, listed as a left winger, owned in 63% of Yahoo leagues, playing top line, second power play unit there, and he has 10 points the last 12 games. And in those 12 games, he's a +8, 34 shots on goal, so even playing with Matthews still gets his fair amount of shots in there, 13 hits in there. He's been solid, and as I alluded to, he plays on the top line there. Should be a fairly solid streaming option. Next one in Toronto is Kelly Yarncroc, listed as center, left wing, and right wing. Like that versatility, can slot him anywhere. Owned in 2% of Yahoo leagues, playing on the second line, second power play unit there. He's put up 6 points in the middle of a 4-game point streak. He's pretty hot right now on Tavares' line there. Hopefully he keeps it going, and with having a 4-game week, I don't see why he wouldn't be an okay option for you. Over in Washington, look at Sonny Milano, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 1% of Yahoo leagues, playing second line, second power play unit there. He's put up 6 points the last 7 games. Pretty nice production, especially of late, considering he was pretty much a castaway. Couldn't even make it on a PTO with Calgary, gets signed later on by Washington there. So in a deep league, you should definitely get some solid value out of him. Last one in Washington's Connor Sheary, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 1% of Yahoo leagues, playing on the top line, second power play unit there. He currently has 5 points in the midst of a 3-game point streak there, and in those 3 games he's a +7, also has a couple of blocks on there. He's on a nice little run right now. He plays with OV there, so that adds a little bit more opportunity, a little bit more value there, so he could be an okay option, especially in deeper leagues. Should also mention Dylan Strome as another option there in Washington. He's just a little bit streaky right now, so a little bit more risk. That's why he's not on the list right now anyways. That's it for today's episode. Don't forget to check out 247clash.com and use referral code LTC there if you do decide to sign up there. If you're watching via YouTube and you like today's episode, remember to hit like, hit subscribe, remember that notification bell. If you're listening via podcast, remember to hit that heart, hit follow, hit subscribe, depending what platform you're watching it on. Again, really hope you're getting some value out of these episodes, and we'll talk to you soon. Good luck, fantasy owners.